Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and today we're going to be trying Trials of Fire, which is a new roguelike RPG card battler that I'm excited to try out. Let's give it a look. Okay, so we'll choose our difficulty here, and I don't really have a good perspective to know what is the right choice. I'm just going to assume that, yeah, don't worry too much. We'll go with medium, I suppose. And then we have what appears to be our three characters here. On the right, our Hunter, who I imagine will be our ranged character, Warrior, maybe close combat, and then Elementalist might be a ranged spellcaster of sorts. So we'll have these three characters. They will each have their own equipment, their own cards, and with those cards, they will then affect the way in which we carry out combat. Let's see. So other than that, choose our quest, Trial of Fire, I suppose, an infinitely replayable custom quest where the challenges are different every time. Sounds good to me. Play how you want to play or compete against your friends. Oh, compete against your friends. Okay, I don't think it's actually like PvP as much as it's just, like they say, high scores. Lore quests are sure, that I guess that sounds fine. Game length. I also don't know how long matches tend to be. Play how long, or play how you want to play, or compete against your... Okay, well, that doesn't really tell us anything new. Let's try a short one here, and we'll just see how that plays out. Oh, can we also change people's names? Oh, we can. We can. Okay, well, admittedly, I didn't really come prepared with specific player names in mind, but, let's see. Our Hunter is going to be Jeremiah. Our Warrior is going to be, let's see. I had something in mind, but then I actually don't know how to spell it. Let's go for Ella, and then the Elementalist will be, how about, oh wait, yeah, let's go Emila. Totally not a reference to the game that we were playing a while back. And can we learn anything about these specific characters? Let's see. So yeah, Hunter deals damage from afar, as we might have expected, uses ranged attacks or summoned pets to take down enemies before they can pose a threat to the party. Then we have the Warrior, fierce frontline fighter, as, again, we might have expected, specializes in dealing melee damage and defending against incoming attacks. Then we have the Elementalist, who's the spellcaster, excellent at dealing damage to multiple enemies at once. Cool. If positioned correctly. Then we have some gear here. I imagine we might be able to pick up some upgrades, so won't focus too much on that, but you'll see here that when we hover over these items, we'll see this prepare icon here, which is actually one of the cards. So the way that the game works is such that every character will have its own card pool, partially based on what class it is, partially based on what gear it has. As you can see here, the cloth rags are giving us this prepare ability, and defensive stance in the case of the bone armor here, so on and so forth. And so I think we'll have the chance to experiment a bit with some of that, so let's get started. The settlement Terralin is dying. We must track down the settlement's leader, Naya, who has ventured out into the grasslands in search of a powerful artifact, but has not been heard from for weeks. Okay, and we can hover over these to get additional information. Let's see. So Terralin, not so long ago, the settlement of Terralin was just a cobbled-together refuge populated primarily by Voiders, the name given to the Soul Scarred, those born with a scarred soul. Okay, I suppose I could have guessed that much. Who had learned to harness their power. Voiders had been born with a predisposition for mysticism, greatly enhancing their natural abilities. Of what variety? We talking combat here? This enabled them to become great elementalists, warriors, assassins, or hunters. Sounds like we're talking combat. In order to ensure their survival in this fragile world, the Voiders began to look to their future and started to train other Soulscarred with the skills and knowledge they had acquired. Attracted by the protection of the Voiders that the Voiders offered, a steady trickle of desperate migrants started arriving in Terralin. That trickle became a flood, and the town soon became overcrowded, dirty, and plagued by disease. The settlement was initially lawless, which worked while the town was just occupied by Voiders, but eventually, someone had to take charge. A vote was held in the Setting Sun Tavern, a rather grand name for a loosely assembled roof and a few barrels of dubious small beer, and a female Voider named Naya was chosen by raucous popular vote. It made sense. She was the strongest warrior, and perhaps more importantly, had the loudest voice, and in this land, those two characteristics counted for much. Okay, that definitely gives us a better sense of the lay of the land. And then we heard a little bit about Naya. Naya is an aging warrior who has led Terralin's defenders, the Voiders, for close to a generation. She has successfully kept the settlement safe from the many dangers of the grasslands and has flourished under her protection. I mean, from what you're saying, it is on the verge of destruction, and yet you're saying it's flourishing, so alright, we'll see about that. As for the grasslands, it's a name given to the barren and scorched wasteland. Okay, so there aren't grasses in the grasslands, is what you're saying. That now covers most of the surface of Ash. The name comes from the beautiful glass formations. Oh, glasslands! Not grasslands. Smart. Okay, the beautiful glass with an L formations that were forged in the scorching heat of the Cataclysm. Okay, so our objective here is to follow in her footsteps. I suppose they mean Naya. Yeah, track down Naya, the Voider leader, and return with her, or news of her fate. Uh-oh. Sounds like things may not necessarily be going so well with Naya here. And is this information we already have? For years, as people have lived in the relative safety of the harsh conditions and monsters surrounding the Glasslands. Yeah, I think so. Without Naya and the secrets she holds, this sounds new Voiders cannot be awakened. That's a dramatic way of phrasing it, and their numbers are reducing rapidly. All that she left behind was a description of her destination, a living world town many days' travel from Terralin. Expeditions have been sent to try to follow in her footsteps, but have not returned. Yours is the third such expedition to be sent out into the I'm going to keep on saying grasslands. Glasslands. You are given supplies for your journey, that's nice, and a map to the town that was Naya's original destination. Okay, I suppose we continue. So I think we're going to have sections like this that are sort of how the plot moves forward. Then we'll also have some exploration around a map, and then at times having some decisions to make that might impact our characters, the progression of the plot, and or find ourselves getting into combat. Welcome to Ash. To complete your quest to save Terralin, you must undertake a perilous journey over the surface of a ravaged planet. Follow the golden objective marker to reach your next quest destination. Keep your supplies up, and to find weapons and equipment crucial to your quest, the party must visit points of interest highlighted on the map. Okay, it looks like they'll get little, yeah, there's our marker. These are the little points of interest, sure. During your journey, you will need to keep track of your party's fatigue and morale levels. Okay, sure. Keep an eye on your party's fatigue level to keep in top fighting form. Sure, does that mean we rest or something to keep our party fresh? Be sure to rest regularly by clicking this image. You will get... What is this image? The fresh image? You will get the most benefit from resting in ruins and settlements where you can find shelter from the harsh conditions of Ash. Resting requires food supplies. Okay, and I'm guessing... That's our food supplies there. Okay, so we have 3 out of 10. We do not currently have any mystic herbs, and we have a little bit of obsidian coins, which I'm guessing is money. Because of the urgency of your mission, you only have a limited time to complete your objectives before despair overtakes your heroes. Okay, so that's sort of like our internal timer in some ways. Take some time to explore, but keep morale high by making steady progress towards your objective. Okay, so I'm not sure. That'll be interesting to see how exactly that's measured. Does that mean quite literally just every step you make closer toward your final destination means you're making quote-unquote progress and therefore you improve your morale? Or does going off to the side a little bit, but say completing some side quests or investigating some of these points of interest, will that also progress it? We'll have to see. Bookmarks. You can view your party's inventory as well as the items currently equipped by clicking on one of the hero portraits on the left of the book. Okay, so here we see the hunter, warrior, and the elementalist that we were talking about before. So from here, you can manage and view your hero's combat deck by rearranging equipment. Okay, so yeah, like we were saying, ultimately, our equipment is going to dictate what cards they're going to have in their deck, and it looks like these are all the cards we're going to have down here. And we may have jumped the gun a little bit by opening up this page directly, but from the inventory screen, you can see the deck of skill cards each hero takes into battle along the bottom of the screen. Yep. You can customize this deck by leveling up your heroes, okay, so there is a leveling up system, through battle or by equipping each of them with different weapons, items, and armor. Try equipping or unequipping some items by dragging them to or from the anatomical slots on your character to see the effect it has on your hero's deck. Click on the bookmark at the top right of the screen to return to your adventure. Okay, gotcha. So that means if we wanted to, we don't appear to have any additional equipment, but if we really want to, we could get rid of the crude spear, which looks like it might be giving us this strike-through ability, which will be a melee and/or ranged attack. So yeah, we see some of the cards disappear down here. So I think we'll spend more time looking at what the specific cards do later on once we actually get into combat, but good to know that at least that's how that works and gives you a little bit of a sneak view as to what that's going to be like. Let's head back to the quest here. And to return to the map, click on the adventure book on the top right. Yep, that's what we just did. Choices matter. The game constantly saves your progress. Okay, good to know. So you can leave and drop back in at any time, but there is no going back on your choices. Also good to know. Warned though, the Land of Ash is brutal and unforgiving, and death in Trials of Fire is permanent. Okay, permadeath, confirmed. If your whole party is defeated in battle, you will need to start a new adventure. So be careful out there. Good luck on your journey. Okay. And I'm interested to see to what extent there is any additional importance when it comes to keeping our characters alive. Like, obviously, we want to succeed, but at the same time, is there any benefit to keeping characters alive through to the end? Then can they go on future quests and be, a higher level because they've already gained experience or better gear? Or are we just starting directly from scratch with every new run? Remains to be seen. But let's begin our trial. Okay, so this looks like our map here, and we see that this marker is directing us toward Naya, the Voider leader, and so that is how we will complete that, but there is this point of interest that's pretty darn close, that I think we might want to check this out. Looks like perhaps these are telling us what the probability of us running into a battle versus getting new equipment versus getting new food versus getting new materials is. Chances are, by the looks of things, we're going to end up in a battle here. And I suppose not entirely sure what travel costs and explore costs and those percentage numbers mean. Oh, that's going to be how tired we are by the looks of things, and I imagine since we're just starting, that shouldn't be much of a concern, so let's head in. Okay, you enter the ruins of a wealthy-looking living world town. So far, sounds good. Before you have time to search the place, you are confronted by a large, armed band of ratlings who claim the site is as their own. So living world... That's what we heard the leader that we're looking for, what they were trying to pursue, right? Living World is the name given to the time before Cataclysm. Only fragments of knowledge have been gleaned about it, found through picking through the ruined remnants of settlements that revealed something about the landscape or people that used to inhabit Ash. And the ratlings, I imagine, are rat people that are, perhaps, at least in this case, potentially confrontational. A primarily subterranean humanoid species that has proliferated since the Cataclysm, owing to the fact that they were protected in their network of underground burrows. Ratlings are slightly shorter and leaner than most humans, but they possess superior speed and agility and are able to move with great stealth. Males and females are difficult to distinguish in their androgynously loose robes. Most clothing is an ill-fitting hodgepodge of styles and sizes, acquired through scavenging pieces of fabric. While their eyesight is reasonable during daylight hours, it affords them exceptional range and depth perception at night. Since the Cataclysm, ratlings have become the dominant species in Terralyn. Okay, so maybe we're going to run into more ratlings than we are humans, and have established communities above ground in ruined human settlements. Ratling society on the surface of Terralyn have become somewhat anarchic and beset by infighting, which has claimed lives. Okay, so that would perhaps suggest that we're going to run into a lot of fights with ratlings. Some ratlings have declared fiefdoms in former human townships. In the desperate battle for survival since the Cataclysm, the taking of human slaves has become increasingly common, causing ever-rising tensions between ratlings and humans. Okay, so yeah, definitely not necessarily people that we are going to be all that trustworthy of, at least certainly not all the time. So we can challenge this elite group. We need the spoils as much as they do. Hard battle, food. Okay, that's interesting that it distinguishes. This is no walk in the park here. This is a relatively difficult fight. We can try to negotiate and split the looting, in which case we have a 50% chance of getting food, it looks like, and then don't know if we fail that 50% chance, does that just mean nothing happens? Or alternatively, we can just be boring and move along. Well, I'm a little bit nervous starting off with a hard battle, but at the same time, let's give it a shot, right? Here goes nothing. So this is the battlefield. let's see, looks like we have 3 enemies, and these are 3 characters here. So again, we have our hunter, who is our primarily ranged attacker, our warrior, who's primarily our melee attacker, and then our elementalist, who is primarily our magic user. And so what we have here is each character has their own set of cards. So top 3 here belong to our hunter, so he can prepare, power shot, or swipe. Then we have 3 cards for our warrior: wild swing, double strike, and swipe. Then we have our elementalist, 3 cards here: swipe, unstable blast, and prepare. And so what we want to do here is, well, of course, take out these ratlings here, and they're, let's see, are they all ratling bowmen? Looks like that is the case. And that 6 you're seeing there means that they have 6 life, compared to, in our case, 12, 13, and 11. Now, of course, that would suggest we're perhaps at a bit of an advantage here, but we may not be able to heal all that regularly in between fights, so like to try to avoid taking damage if we can. So, let's take a look here at how best we want to approach them, because, of course, our ranged attacker may be able to do something like take a power shot at these guys, although if we actually right-click here, we can see that none of them are in our line of sight. We need to move a little bit closer, or at least get a little bit of a better angle, so that we can attack them from here. Like, if we moved 1 step closer, you can see suddenly it looks like one or potentially both ratlings might become in our line of sight. Whereas, of course, with our warrior, when it comes to melee attacks, we need to get right up close and personal. And let's just double check with our elementalist. I think we need to be within relatively close range, kind of mid-range, to make things work with her. So why don't we start by moving our hunter? And the way that we do that is we need to have willpower. And willpower is what you see here. We have this 0, which means we have basically 0 points to be able to move around and take action. So what we can do here is, if we don't like one of our particular cards, we can deliberately recycle it. So I'm going to do that for our swipe card on our hunter. Now suddenly you'll see we have a 1 there, and there's this little circle that's going around our hunter, which means he has the capability to move now. So if we do this, we can move forward here, and then you'll see there's that little eyeball that appeared above one of those ratlings, which means we should now be able to target that one with one of our ranged attacks. And before we do that, we could also use prepare here, which is actually not a action card. It's, as you can see here, it says power over to the side, which means it's more or less a permanent buff. At least, technically, they can be destroyed if our opponents deal damage to our hunter here, but let's give that a shot. And then now, oh, that may have actually cost us some willpower as well. I was not paying particularly close attention. If you look in the top right corner at power shot, it obviously says power shot, but then to the right of that, it has that 2 in blue. That is the number that is the cost in terms of willpower. So since we have 0 willpower right now, and this costs 2, that means that we're not going to be able to use this ability at the moment, so we'll need to recycle some additional things. And then, of course, we see here that it deals 5 damage, which is almost enough to take out one of these Ratling Bowmen. So perhaps that means our melee person is not going to be terribly helpful here, at least not at the moment, because we, of course, need to get closer before that will be an option to us. So we could either move her way forward into harm's way, perhaps, and try to get her right up next to one of these Ratlings, or we could basically just throw away many of her cards to generate some of our willpower here. That might be something that's useful for us. So let's maybe just dump a swipe, which I think is generally going to be the most simple, straightforward card that is maybe the most disposable. And we might do something similar here for our Elementalist, just to give ourselves a little bit more willpower, because I'd like to get one of these power shots in against you to deal 5 damage, which is almost enough to take out this Ratling Bowman. I love those animations as well. Let's see, so at this stage, man, we could get 6 damage, or at least 3 to 6 damage. I suppose it's a range, but this does cost a lot more willpower. And so I'm a little bit concerned about our warrior, because at the moment, she's not dealing any damage here, but she is within line of sight of both of these bowmen, and presumably they're going to return fire pretty soon. So maybe we deliberately move her into cover here. Let's try doing that by getting rid of some of her cards to give her some ability to move here. So she gains some willpower, and now you see she has a circle around her, which means we can move with her. And let's put her... See, that is still within line of sight of one of the Ratlings. If we put you here, you are comparatively much safer, and even this one over here can't hit you. And let's also dump your Wild Swing here, because what this does is it means you'll see this +2 on top of the warrior, which means if we end our turn without having used this card, without having moved her, then she will gain 2 armor at the end of our turn, which, when we're potentially expecting to take some damage, would be not a bad thing to pick up. Then when it comes to our Elementalist, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get close enough to pull this off. We go with Prepare, you can gain 1 willpower at the start of your turn, and that does seem like that could be useful, long-term at least. Then we have Unstable Blast, will cost 1 willpower. Do we have the range for it? There you see, this is the range here. We could hit our warrior friend. Let's not do that. Yeah, so we need to be within 3 spaces to pull that off, and you're not close enough at the moment. We could potentially move you. How far can we move you if we were to sacrifice this? Well, and we can try. At the very least, we might just opt to keep you here and go with the same thing we're going with the warrior to get some armor by not using this last point. But yeah, we can move you out into the open, but at that point, you know, you're just going to take damage, not really do much good. Even here, you're within eye shot of those rattlings. If you go back here, you're within eye shot of one of them. If you go here, you are technically safe here. It means that we're moving you so you won't get that additional armor, but it does put you in better position to attack if the rattlings move on their next turn, which, since they aren't in line of sight right now, I think they may, they may hit our hunter, but let's give this a shot here. And now what we'll do is we'll click this button here to end our turn. Get some card back, but they will now take their turn. Hopefully they're just focusing on moving here. But we'll see, yeah, they will shoot at least a little bit. Fortunately, they're attacking our hunter, which does have some armor. Oh, but they do go for the hunter, and he did not have any armor at all. And this rattling can still shoot him as well. So our hunter's getting a little bit beat up here. That is pretty much the only character that we did not make a point of defending in any way. But we are now in a good position to, I would think, take out this rattling. Now, how would we like to do that? Let's take a look at what we drew into here. We can gain more willpower, yes. Strike through. Melee attack from our, or range attack, okay. It deals actually a little bit less damage from range. Also hits anyone directly behind the target. At the moment, there's no one directly behind you, so that's not terribly helpful. If you hit 2 targets, gain 1 willpower. I mean, that would be great if we could manage to hit both of you, but that may not be all that likely to happen. Let's see for our warrior here. This could be within range for you to just run up and whack this person. Oh, those were from our warrior. Oh no, sorry, that's our hunter. And warrior here, swipe for 2 damage. Not our strongest card, I don't think. Can take defensive stance, defend 2 after performing a melee attack. Okay, so that's an interesting way of combining some offense with some defense. Yeah, lots of powers here. Or every time we play a card that deals melee damage, gain 1 willpower. More of a directly offensive option there. And at the moment, we do not have any powers on our warrior. She's the only character that does not have a power on her. So that could be useful. I'd be tempted to say, go with the adrenaline here. It would, of course, use a couple of willpower. And then we might need to burn some other things to make room for us to actually be able to deal damage. So tell you what if we actually started with our Elementalist here? Because we were, at least last time, seeing that there were some things that were within 2 space or 3 space range that we could deal damage. Every time you play a card that deals magic damage, gain 1 willpower. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of this willpower generation stuff. Force Missile. Magic attack 2 to target within 3 spaces. Yeah, so we could do that. And to 1 random enemy within 2 spaces of the target. Oh, so can it basically chain from one enemy to the other if they're close by, but they aren't quite close enough. Unfortunately, I mean, that would be great if we could hit both of them. But I think if we go with that, we could deal 2 damage, get you down to 4. Then, do we have enough power to finish you off? We could get 2 from strike through from the hunter from range, or we could move up to melee for 3 damage. Then swipe could be another 2. So yeah, we definitely do have enough here. I think we go for it. So that's 2 damage there. Then, at this point, maybe we move in with the warrior, and in order to do that, we're going to have to make a little bit more, or we're going to have to give her the ability to actually move. So we'll recycle a card here. Now she can move. Let's get up close and personal now. And we can go with the swipe. However, what we can actually do is if we move our hunter in here first, I want to show you guys something cool you can do. So let's sacrifice, so we'll save focus just in case that's something we want. Actually, we could use advance, which is specifically meant for movement. So move 2 and gain 1 willpower. Is that going to be enough movement? 1, 2? Yeah, this is where I'd like to move you, so I think that's fine. Let's advance you here. So now we have 2 characters in close combat range, and we can see what I'm setting up here is a combo strike, because one of our heroes is in position to perform a combo strike. After a melee attack on an enemy, any other friendly characters adjacent to that enemy will automatically perform a combo strike for 1 additional point of damage. Now, it may not be totally necessary here because we may have enough damage anyway, but it'll be an interesting thing to at least show you. Try to outnumber and surround enemies to take them down more quickly and make sure your heroes are not left exposed to enemy combo strikes. So, what that means is if we get a melee attack with either of those characters right next to that Ratling, then we can get a free point of damage in as well. However, a character cannot perform a combo strike if they are adjacent to more than a single enemy. Okay, shouldn't be a factor here. If you mouse over an enemy with a melee attack card with you, you will see a preview of which friendly characters can and cannot make a combo strike. That's helpful. Friendlies that can will be highlighted with yellow glow, and those that are prevented from performing combo strikes are highlighted in red. Try it out. That we shall. That was the idea. So, with that in mind, we'd like to deal 3 damage, and we could make that happen with the Hunter, and then the 1 combo strike should be enough to then get the finishing blow. And I think that means that, yeah, it has to be the Hunter here for 3 damage with Strike Through. And then we see, yes, there is the yellow glow around our warrior, and that is enough to take out 1 Ratling. And now, I mean, I'd love to just get enough damage to take you out. So if we could, say, move the Elementalist by sacrificing Cantrip here, get you here, that is within eye shot of this Ratling, but if we're trying to make Force Missile work, remember that we deal 2 magic attack damage, and 1 random enemy within 2 spaces of the target will take 1 damage. Okay, so just trying to make sure that that will trigger here. I think it will. Let's give this a shot. Are we within range, though? Let's see. Within 3 spaces. Yeah, should be. Oh, not enough willpower. Okay, hold on. Yeah, it takes 2. So let's sacrifice maybe Swipe. Don't think we're going to need that here. Now we should be able to. And yes, dealt 2 damage to that Ratling, and actually dealt 2 to you. I thought it was only going to deal 1, but okay. Pleasant surprise. Now, at this point, we don't have the willpower to use either of these powers, so I think we just recycle them, and that'll give them some armor here, because this Ratling is likely to shoot us a bit, because actually, surprisingly, the Elementalist is not within eyes shot of this Ratling, but these 2 are, and those are the 2 that we can get some armor on, so that actually works quite well for us. So Ratling will take its turn, and it will shoot at us, surprise, surprise. 1 shot on the warrior, but that's not enough to break through the armor, or at least just gets rid of the armor and not much else. So it looks like we're going to be fine here, in which case we have a 5 power range attack from our Hunter, and that would be enough to get rid of them, so I think we go for it here. Oh, except they had some armor as well. Oh, you sneaky little Ratling. Okay, hold on. Melee attack 2 or ranged attack 1, improvised attack, throwing a shield, going all Captain America. That might be the move here. Alternatively, we could advance. I mean, we're on 0 willpower here, so we need to find a way to get that somehow. Let's just sacrifice an advance from you, and or we could get you within... Oh, no, that was, Okay. I may have moved the wrong person there, because we want improvised attack on the Hunter. Are you still within range for this, though? You are. Okay, no worries. And that should mean that we have succeeded here. Took a little bit of damage from the Hunter, but everyone else, I think, walked away unharmed. So let's see what we got. We got a Concealed Blade, which is potentially an upgrade for us. At least we'll have to check it out. It will give us some new cards. It looks like it's going to be a melee item primarily, so it might be best to put that on our warrior. And then also some coins. Sure. And, oh, okay, here to level up. We have 1 remaining. Okay, so we actually need to choose, it looks like, which hero we will level up. So I don't have a great sense as to who we ought to prioritize here. We saw a little bit from everyone, so I don't have a strong preference. I think we did see that the Hunter took some damage, so maybe let's try leveling up the Hunter in hopes of making him a little bit stronger so that if he does get in trouble, he's more capable of, well, getting himself out of said trouble. So let's see what we have here. We level up, drag a skill card from below to replace one of your old class skills, or click a card on the left to upgrade it. Okay, so interesting. We can take one of our existing cards and upgrade it, or if we don't like one of our starting cards that maybe is relatively simple, straightforward, and not that powerful, then we can replace it with a much stronger card, or at least potentially stronger card, over here on the right. So let's see, all range attacks deal +2 damage, that's power. Very offensive power, I like it. Line up, move 2 and gain 1 willpower, and your next attack this turn deals 1 damage. Okay, that just looks like it's a better advance. Let's move 3 and gain 1 willpower. Oh, okay. No, actually, it's move 2 and gain 1 willpower. That would be the upgraded advance that would move 3. So yeah, this is just willpower +1 damage. This is just a high damage power. Hit and run, melee attack 2, and draw a movement card from your deck or discard pile. Ooh, drawing additional cards on the same turn. I mean, worst comes to worst, even if it's not good, you recycle it, get some more willpower out of that, and that can help you do other things. And lastly, we have Shelter. Move to any other friendly character, then defend 2 and activate that character. I don't know what activate means. So when we move to the target, we actually move adjacent to that target. So if someone's in trouble, we can help them out by doing that. Defend means absorb damage done to the character. Oh, so you actually take the hits on behalf of that character. So if someone is really vulnerable or about to die, then you move to them, take the damage for them, and an activated unit can perform a free move 2 action. Oh. Activate that character. Okay, so you basically move up to that other character, take the damage for them, and you give that character the ability to do a little bit of run away. So, despite this one saying that it's hit and run, in some ways this feels more like hit and run, or at least one person runs in, blocks, and the other person runs away. So that one is interesting defensively. Then we have some more offensive approaches here. And I think I'd like to try getting new cards in first, and then once we start getting new cards, we'll try upgrading those. So I do like getting an improved advance. That feels like that might be nice to have with something like Line Up. And it is an interesting combo if we go with that and then follow up with a damaging card next, because get +1 damage on that does mean it looks like that we'll have to deal that damage on the same turn, otherwise missed opportunity, because it's only a temporary buff. Let's try that, though. Let's get rid of an advance by putting in Line Up, and let's confirm. After defeating the Ratlings, the party goes about exploring the ruins. Oh, okay, there's potentially more? Yes, okay, so that was just the battle, but look at this. We get a Force Rod, which is another melee weapon. We'll check that one out in a second. Horn Satchel, Think Ahead. Okay, another card. We'll check all that stuff out once we're done looting everything here. And then coins. Okay, so yeah, after a few hours of searching, you pull together everything that the party has managed to scavenge. Nice. Okay. Let's continue. And now if we click on one of our characters here, we should be able to look at our inventory. Weapons and armor. From this screen, you can also view your hero's total armor and weapon quality values. Okay? Hover over both in turn for a tooltip explaining what they do. Okay, so quality. Character's total equipment quality provides a number of redraws in each battle. Each redraw can be used to discard and redraw any number of cards from hand. Oh, okay, so if we don't like our hand, we can deliberately switch things around a little bit. High or low morale can affect equipment quality. Oh, really? Interesting. And since we're determined, it looks like we might be getting a little bit higher quality than usual. And then armor. Each point of armor provides 1 additional health at the start of every battle, or at least functionally kind of like health. This provides a small buffer before you start taking permanent health damage. Yeah, makes sense. High or low morale can also affect armor. And since we're determined we might be getting a little bit more than that, that might be why it's showing up green here. My guess is we're getting a +1 bonus. So at the moment, we only have a crude spear, which is what's giving us that strike through, which seemed like that was potentially one of our stronger cards, although we get some new weapons that might be able to improve that. So Concealed Blade gives us a melee attack. It deals 1 damage and inflicts exposed on a target. Character takes 1 additional damage from all damage sources, cannot have stealth. Okay, so it's maybe something you try to play early weaken an opponent, and then you follow up with a bunch of future attacks. I'm thinking if we're going against some kind of big boss, that could be really helpful. But if we're going against relatively simple and just common enemies, then that's not going to be all that helpful. We're just going to be able to take them out without that extra assistance. Then we have the Force Rod, gives us Force Strike, melee attack 2, then push all adjacent enemies 2 spaces. You can target enemies up to 2 spaces away. Oh! So you have range on the attack, and then you also push enemies back. Very interesting crowd control-like option. And I'm not sure how useful it's going to be, but at least in theory I can see how that might be helpful. And lastly, we have the Torn Satchel with Think Ahead. Shuffle 2 cards from Shiv, Simple Shot, and Guard into your deck. Next time you draw cards this turn, draw 1 extra card. Okay. I don't know how good Shiv, Simple Shot, or Guard are. Those sound like they might be pretty simple cards that are not terribly good. I'm not really sure you want to be adding those to your deck, but being able to draw an extra card, if we have consistent source of card draw, could be helpful. Just not sure we have the right setup for that at the moment. So I kind of like, because you have some ranged abilities on the Hunter, let's go with the Force Rod. Can we put this on you? Or does it need to be like a primary weapon? Oh no, it looks like it has this little icon here. It looks like it has a little wand or staff, if you will. My guess is that means that it, if anything, needs to be on, yes, the Elementalist. Okay, I was thinking that might have been interesting to put on Hunter because it could be a bit of a setup, be a way to move enemies back so that we can more easily use range abilities against them. Might have been a nice combo, but in that case, looks like, if anything, we'd be replacing the Shaman Rod, which deals 3 damage and inflicts burning to all characters in the target area. This sounds pretty cool, so I am reluctant to get rid of that. I think we might not put on the Force Rod in that case, unless we have a dual-wielding option here, but it doesn't look like we can do that. So, and I don't think the Warrior can do this either? No, okay. In that case, let's see. Who can even use this guy? The Concealed Blade, it might only be our Hunter in the offhand. Our Warrior cannot. Our Elementalist could. So this gives us the melee attack, inflict exposed, right. And then create 3 Shiv cards in our hand. Okay, so just tons of cards in our hand, which could be useful for just recycling, or if they're helpful, then we can do a lot of things on one turn. Trying to think if that's best to have on you, or if that's best to have on the Hunter. I'm feeling like it might be best on the Hunter. Let's go for this. And then the Torn Satchel, we can put that on anyone. You cannot have it. But you can. Okay. So definitely going to take a little while to get a better sense as to what you can and cannot have on which characters. Oh, I think it might be... Is it color-coded a bit? Like, is green the Warrior? Or at least can be the Warrior, and then the blue might be the Hunter? Maybe I'm reading into that too much. But anyways, that's interesting stuff. And I think we'll continue heading on closer toward our final objective here. But I think we'll wrap things up here for this video, and definitely an interesting look at what this game is all about. Got some chances to check out the plot, check out some random encounters, do some combat, of course, and experiment a little bit with equipping various items and even leveling up our characters. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know how interested are you in this new game, and should we do more of playing this, or is this something that you feel like, thanks Lids, but not so much my style. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.